Love between humans is just not easy. And without great examples or education about emotions, communication, sex, and what keeps love alive, it's too easy to be disheartened, settle, or give up on what you want most. I believe you can have the love and intimacy you want. And having coached thousands of people on their love lives for over 20 years, I know what love can be for you. So I'm bringing you people who share vulnerably about their dating and relationship struggles and how they learn to create the most connected, fulfilling, and exciting love and sex of their lives, so you can have it too. If you haven't yet taken the quiz to see what keeps you from having the best love and sex of your life, go to shanajamescoaching.com/quiz. You'll get a personalized report of your strengths and challenges in the 5 crucial areas that lead to your most fulfilling and exciting love and sex life. Go to shanajamescoaching.com/quiz to find out. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Practicing Love. I'm your host, Shana James, here to talk about how to have the best love and sex of your life after 40 and all the things that it takes. And my stance is that we're always practicing, even those of us who are experts and who are studying communication and psychology and spirituality and all kinds of, different ways to grow, we're still practicing. I have an amazing woman here with us today, Hannah Chapman, and we're going to have a conversation about her relationship and what she's practicing and focus on the struggles that happen in communication and what happens when we have defensive communication versus open communication. And we'll cover a whole lot more, I'm sure. But a quick intro to Hannah. She is a certified financial planner, an accredited portfolio management advisor, a chartered retirement planning counselor. So she's got all of the finance pieces and she's got clearly whip smart brain. And she also works with human design and gene keys. For those of you who know those, I wouldn't even call them personality typing systems anymore. How do they define them?
Yeah, it's a personality profile technically, I guess, but
it just goes so far. It goes so much deeper than that, right? But
yes.
I think that is right how it's called or designated. And I know you do inner child healing, and so I just love you're my hero that you have this range. You can actually navigate money and that world as well as the inner world. So thank you so much for being here and being willing to be vulnerable about your relationship.
Thank you, Shana. This is such an important topic to me. Being in the financial world and for the length of time that I've been here, I've started back in 2006. So it's been 19 years at this point. One thing I know, you mentioned communication in the intro, like it's so important for people to be able to talk about money. It's so important to be able to talk, period, right? Even talk about your goals and dreams. Sometimes when we would sit with couples, like they didn't have a cohesive vision a shared vision, or one partner would have like all the vision and the other one's like, yeah, I guess that's not really what they want. Right. And you could see it from 10 miles away. Like that's going to blow up. That's not good.
Yes.
So yeah.
So important to learn how to have those conversations, right? And the difference between, yes, I'll go along with that versus, yes, I really want to. And why the hell are you doing that versus, hey, I'm curious about that decision, right? And money and love and sex can be some of those biggest trigger topics.
Oh yeah. It's such a tender topic. A lot of people, in dating, I haven't dated we'll get to that in a second. I haven't dated in forever, but people will have sex before they will talk about money.
Wow. Interesting.
Right? Like you might like go on a date
that's so true. Yeah.
Yeah. Have sex with someone before you even know how much they make in a year or what they, what their finances look like. It's a different kind of taboo topic. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's so interesting. And it's so important. It's so important to be able to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And I often set up the conversation by asking, what kind of relationship are you in right now? How long have you been together? It sounds like you've been, 19 years or so? I think you said you've been married?
My husband and I have been married for 19 years. We've been together for 24.
Okay.
And we started dating our senior year of high school. So we were in the same grade. We were, both graduated in 2002.
Nice.
from high school. And yeah, so we started dating our senior year of high school. We really became friends our junior year of high school.
It's
Right.
amazing when it goes back that far.
Yes. And we went to college together. We got married right after I graduated from college. So we
Your lives
have,
have been intertwined for a very long time.
yes.
And now you
Yeah,
have 3 children together.
we do. We have a 14-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 10-year-old, girl, boy, girl.
Those are big years.
Yes, and our older two children are on the autism spectrum. I guess they would call that, like level 1-ish. So high functioning in that sense that they can take care of themselves in a whole lot of ways. But it was a very challenging experience when they were little,
Yes.
and when they were toddlers, when they were babies, and responding to them and understanding them and really meeting their needs where they were at versus, what all the grandparents and other people were like, why do they need these different things? Like, well, because
Yes.
clearly they're different kids. They're not.
Right. They're not the neurotypical kids.
Yes.
I can relate to that.
We have had, the way I like to put it, too, like over 24 years at this point, we have had many relationships. In that
Yes.
time, we've been through a lot of phases, all of the things that a lot of people might be in a relationship and, they hurt each other in some way and they break up and they do it better the next time, or they, go through the
But
same
you've done
cycle.
that all within the same relationship,
Exactly.
which is so courageous. And what I know, and I know you'll talk about this more, is that you are growing together. So it's not like you stayed in the same relationship and just hunkered down. This is who I am. You're consistently discovering, who am I now and who are we now and how do we actually do this together?
Yes. Yeah. And that's over time. There have been, I mean, I can think of several different aspects or different instances when we have had like a fully get to know you now conversation. And I mean, literally it's happened multiple times and
Really?
it's so fascinating. One that I can remember, gosh, that was 2015. And I had just like all of these questions, for him. And I had like written down all of these questions that I was thinking about. And he just kind of stops and looks at me and he's like, I bet we'll have these conversations many more times.
Oh,
And it was so interesting
I
in
like
that moment.
that. I mean, to me, that says you're on the same page. If you brought the questions and he said, I bet we'll do this again versus why are you asking me these questions? Or what's the point of this? Or I already know you, or don't you already know me? Right. It's like you're both coming from similar places.
Yeah. Yes. And willing to meet each other
Mm-hmm.
when it's been hard. And I think that's the biggest piece with the communication aspect is that moment of getting to know you again
Yeah.
has usually come after a period of grief
Difficulty.
and difficulty.
Can you give an example of what it looks like when either you've been willing to meet him or he's been willing to meet you, even in the challenge?
Yes. So probably the biggest one, we would go through cycles. I would say it always in my mind always looked like a circle or a
Yeah.
loop. And the way I think it's John Gottman described this cycle, like the honeymoon cycle, basically, right? Like things are good, and then there's a disconnection, and then there's a thing that happens, and then there's a disconnection until reconcile and come back to the honeymoon period.
Mm-hmm.
And so like ideally, it feels like, or what I imagine a good cycle would be, good, quote unquote, where it's mostly good, right? And then you have like a little disconnection just at the little bottom point. Oh, and then we hop back over and we're back to good. And 95% of the circle is good. Well, what was happening? This was after I had started my business. I had gone out on my own. I've been in financial services again for like 19 years. In 2021, I went out on my own. Just a lot. There was a lot.
Big leap.
Yes, it was a big leap, a big swing. I was working so hard and super stressed out. And then when I started my business, I also discovered just how much, like an insane amount of inner child healing that I really, really needed to do in order to be able to keep moving forward, in order to build the business that I knew that I know that I'm capable of, that my
Yes.
heart is like, this is where I'm supposed to be going.
I love that distinction, right? And not necessarily buying that part that's like, I'm not good enough. I can't do this. I don't know. Right. And no, I know what I'm capable of. And I also know that I get stuck in these places of not believing in myself and these old wounds and triggers.
Yes, absolutely. And that year, the next year, it was so much healing, so much getting to know myself, getting to like listen to my own heart for the first time fully.
Which I'm imagining, you can tell me my imagination is, it's a messy process. As we're healing, it's not like, oh, this is amazing. It's like, fuck.
More
oh my
like,
God, I have to look at that and that.
Yes, more like screaming into pillows and crying and just being like feeling the things that we tend to, or I had at least suppressed for ever. So we were having these between Adam and I. Adam is my husband. You know, I was learning how to regulate myself. I was learning how to, like, if I was starting to get like shaky and worked up, I would be like, I have to go meditate for a little bit.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I would take 5 to 10 minute meditation breaks, like so many times throughout the day.
Yes.
When I felt, my nervous system like getting all worked up again.
That's amazing to be able to choose that.
Right. Exactly. And I was prioritizing that. And so he was kind of interested, but also kind of like, why are you taking so much time for yourself a little bit? Like that was coming up too. And what was happening, again, go back to that cycle. What I was noticing is that the cycle of like, oh, we're good. The happy honeymoon period was like getting shorter and shorter. And then the break would happen, and then there would be more of the disconnection. And then we repair and we're fine. But that little honeymoon period we literally had less than 24 hours before that triggered again. And what would happen when to be more descriptive of this, our cycle has never been abusive. I would never say, I grew up in a home where there was abuse, and I've seen it, verbal, emotional, physical. I am very well versed in what that can look like and feel like. That was never the dynamic. And if someone is in that kind of dynamic, this is not a commercial to say like you should stay through abuse. Absolutely not. That said, what would happen, it was like, the way I can describe it is like, we would just lose all connection. And from his perspective, the way he would describe it is he said it felt like falling into a black hole emotionally, and not knowing. From the outside, it would look like stonewalling.
But from the inside, he was kind of lost in there and he couldn't find his way to connect with you.
Right. He's like the anger side would go in. He would go within himself and not know how to climb back out of it on his own.
And one of the things I hear from men a lot, having worked with men, is the fear of letting that anger out, for the fear of doing harm with that anger, right? Can often cause that internal black hole of like, I have to suck in so far, right? So that I don't actually destroy something.
Exactly. Yes. That is very, I think that would be very accurate for him. And then, so I'm on the other side of here feeling, the anxious attachment side, right? I think I had like a disorganized attachment, really, because of the way I was raised. But like the anxious side of like, when's he going to come back? But also if I push, then he goes further in, right? And so it's like this,
the instinct is to push, even though you know that.
Right. Exactly. And so then we would get into this cycle of like, I'm waiting and pausing, and like, I don't know when to tap back in. And he doesn't, he's like stuck in his spiral until I break after a week, or, several days, or a week or 2 weeks. Like, I'm the one who breaks and like, I can't take this. I need to understand what's matter.
Yeah.
How can we fix it? Right. And so that would then start the repair cycle.
Yep.
And then we're back in the honeymoon cycle, right? Like that would tend to be that. And so again, I started sending him some articles like, this is what it feels like to me. It feels like stonewalling. If you're, again, familiar with John Gottman, that's one of the 5 horsemen of the relationship apocalypse. 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. 4 horsemen, of the apocalypse is stonewalling. And it, I was trying to communicate to him how much that hurt. And
how did he receive that?
That was when he told me that he's like, I'm not doing it on purpose. It doesn't feel, I'm not trying to manipulate anything. It's that I don't know how to get out of it.
Yes. It's so good. I mean, and right. And when you're able to communicate without these assumptions about each other in the relationship dynamic, and you can get curious, it's like, hey, it feels like stonewalling out here, but you can actually hear him say, I'm not doing it on purpose, right? In a even stronger disconnection, someone would be like, well, it feels like it, or, I get that you're not doing it, but you're doing that me, or whatever it is, or
Right.
blaming and shaming. So it sounds like at least some part of you too could communicate with that kind of curiosity.
Right. Right. And that was, I would say, again, partly I was doing a lot of internal work at this time. And that the time I went away, came back, we had a like less than 24-hour good repair cycle, and then back into the disconnection. That was a final straw for me. And I told him, and I'm not hyperbolic. I don't say things like, I don't threaten things. I'm not like, that's not who I am. But at that point, I had been feeling it for a little while. And that for me was kind of a final straw of like, I want a divorce. I'm done.
Wow.
I'm done. And it was because I'm done. I told him I'm done with the cycle
Yes.
of connection and disconnection, because it takes me, I then am like, my whole system is trying to like ignore that part so that I can continue.
Yeah.
With
It's
the
so
stuff that I have,
painful, right? It takes so much energy, and it takes away from parenting and career and all of that to go through that cycle and to be, feel like you're dragged down by it. And I see that with so many couples I work with, where it seems like, divorce is the way. Like if we can't break out of this, then what else do we do besides actually separate?
Right. And that's where I was at that moment. It was like, the disconnection, it felt, the analogy I told him was like, it's like a USB drive, and you just like disconnect from me. And I have no, like, I have no insight. I can't,
Like,
I don't know what
right,
you're
you're
feeling.
gone, and then I'm left there alone.
Yeah. And there's just no connection until you choose to come back.
Yeah.
And
then I imagine you feel
that
helpless, and that if you can't get him to come back, or.
right.
So I'm imagining, as we talk about in practicing love, there's this struggle. You are living it. You're living the cycle. It's one of the things I help my clients do, is map those cycles, which is so powerful to be able to see, this is where I go. This is where you go. This is what happens. This is where the hurt is. This is where the anger is. And so let's start to look a little bit more at, what are you practicing now? What happened? Because you're not divorced. What happened to help you see we can actually do this and we can stay connected here?
For the first aspect of this, and I think this is really important, actually, after that conversation, I didn't say, I'm thinking about this. I said, this is what I want. Like, I need something different. I hadn't hired a lawyer. It wasn't like it was serving papers, but I was like, this is where I'm at fully, not as like a threat. And we had a very deep conversation that evening. And he said, can we keep trying? And I said, can we build something new? And his response was very honest and sweet. He said, I don't know if that's possible. And I was like, well, that's honest. But from that, he had started, I was doing so much growth work, so much studying, so much everything, learning human design at that same time as well, learning about
Had he been
myself.
doing it at that time too, or that just wasn't his way? It wasn't his orientation?
No. And what he kind of oriented to, the resources that helped him, one was the Waking Up app with Sam Harris, who is not my cup of tea, but that spoke to him.
Right. We all have different ways that we get wisdom and information.
Yep. Yeah. And Thich Nhat Hanh, he was, reading a lot of his work. So he started practicing meditation. He started practicing, listening to himself. He went to therapy by himself for a while. I had gone to therapy, a couple of years prior, as well. So, right. Like, that was like, he was putting in the effort in some ways, not to be dismissive. He was putting in effort in those areas. And it took us a couple of years. We got to another little bit of a crunchy point, I would say. And I was feeling that feeling again. And this was more around me being, I am, again, human design, gene keys. These are astrology based, right? Like you put in your birth date, time, place. I think they're extremely powerful and accurate and amazing and help people know themselves. And my husband, who I said loves Sam Harris, is extremely skeptical of everything.
I could see, right? That again, you can meet in so many ways and have a very different path to get there and be skeptical of each other's paths.
Yes. Yeah. And what we were experiencing at that point was I was trying to and feeling like it was so important for me to be more of myself and express all of me. And he was like, what is this?
What is
astrological stuff? Yeah. And kind of snarky and a little bit mean. And it made me on that side. And then, so for me, I started to notice how I withhold. That's in this whole conversation, right? He would withhold in some ways and I didn't notice it, how I was doing it. But then that became very clear, is that if I didn't feel safe to be seen, then I'm just going to go ahead and just pull it all back.
Because it is one of the most scary things to put a part of yourself out there and not have it, appreciated or accepted, or even have your partner be curious about it, but have them be skeptical. And then the tendency is often, okay, well, I'm going to take my ball and go play elsewhere.
Right. Yeah. I'll go be myself over on this basketball court, but you don't get that full version of me.
Yes.
And so when that started to feel untenable, I let him know. I found that going through a psychedelic healing experience, an intentional, created, facilitated psychedelic experience together was the thing. We were both really brand new to all of it, but
that's so beautiful.
Yeah. The intentional growth work we had done beforehand, I think, was really, really important to make that experience.
I agree. Be able to mine it. I agree. I mean, right. For a lot of the couples I work with who haven't done anything like that, it can be helpful on its own, but the more consciousness, the more capacity you bring into that experience to be able to witness yourself and witness each other and come from that loving, curious place, the more you get out of it and the less blown out you get by it.
Yes, it can be too much.
Yeah.
If you don't have the capacity to hold the information that you're receiving and feeling and experiencing.
Right. And through your body and through your nervous system. And then to also experience that with this person who you're also trying to love and open to. It's a big.
Yes. Yeah, that experience was such a turning point. And because the particular protocol we did is meant to be a heart opener, and meant to literally lower the defenses of the amygdala.
Yes.
What's happening in the brain chemistry, right? It's when we speak to each other, we can tend to, this is with everybody, all humans, right? We have the tendency to either go into fight or flight.
Yes.
Or fawn, right? Or freeze, right? All of those things,
right? We can kind of posture, especially in relationship dynamics, we can posture or we can collapse and we go away somehow.
Exactly. So that's all amygdala. It's that's the preservation part of your brain saying, even just that feeling of I have to be ready in case I have to defend myself.
Yes.
That comes up, that builds, the walls are so high, or even if they've been knocked down, it's so easy. It's so easy to just be I got my bricks right there, baby. I'm just going
to stack them right up.
Build that wall right back up, right? I was so good at it. I was so good at that.
Yeah.
And the heart protocol that we did, again, it quiets the amygdala and floods the brain with serotonin so that you can have these conversations. You can have really deep conversation.
Yeah.
And not be afraid.
Right.
And be able to.
That's such a great point. When I really go into in my own relationship experiences, the walls come up to protect those places that are afraid, right? And when I work with clients in this, we really get into, okay, what are you afraid to say right now? And how do we make it safe? How do you, make it safe to actually have these conversations with each other? Oftentimes I have to go back and help couples set ground rules and agreements for how are we going to have these conversations. So I imagine you get to do that in the moment in the psychedelic experience. But then you come out of that, and how did you start, or how did you integrate having those kinds of loving conversations with each other?
Yes. And so that's the whole thing, right? The psychedelic experience itself is a peak experience. It's something we'll literally never forget. And it's only one day. It's only, a few hours. It's only that moment in time. So how do you carry that forward? And that's all about integration. Integration is so, so, so important. And the way that we integrated, one aspect was that the group that we did this with, they have integration coaches for every person. And we asked if we could do that as a couple. So have integration sessions together instead of apart. And so that was a big piece of it, having someone who could listen to both of us, listen to both of our experiences. We were together sometimes, we were separate sometimes. And she was just such a good partner in helping us learn how to talk to each other differently. And the other aspect was that we began having Sunday, you can call them like relationship board meetings.
Yeah.
If you want.
Check-ins or meetings.
Yeah.
It's such a good way to do it.
And we had the whole checklist, and here's all the, the topics that we want to make
Good
sure we
for
cover.
you. This is great.
And now we incorporate a couple of different things. We meditate till we actually light some candles and some Palo Santo, and just make this like really nice music going. It's this like, it's really
Soothing
cozy.
your nervous system.
Now it's something that we're so excited to sit down to. We have these tools now. We have different tools in the tool bag.
So I just want to say how important it is. And I think that's become a foundation in my relationship also. I mean, we miss them sometimes, or we'll go for months without having them, and then we put the check-ins back in. And for me, especially as someone who, I think my partner too, we both have identified as people pleasers, and it's hard to say something in the moment, hard to ask for what we want. But when you know that you have a time that you can come back to so that things don't just get swept under the rug for years or decades on end, if you know, okay, this is a time where I get to say this thing that feels scary, but we're both agreeing that we want this, and we're both on the same page that we're going to work this out. I mean, it's a game changer.
Yes. And coming from a posture of, you've said it before, of curiosity, of both of us learning so much more about how to own our own experience. This is what I'm feeling.
Not that you did this to me, but this is what I'm feeling, or this is what I'm noticing.
Yes, this is what's coming up for me because of this thing that happened. This is the trigger that I'm feeling. Just being able to be super curious about it on either side, rather than, it's really truly is the classic, like, here we are, and here's the thing, right? Like you and me
together, we're on the same team looking at this thing, right? Instead of we're coming at each other.
Mm-hmm. And I saw the other aspect truly was also the stonewalling, we'll say in quotes, that we had experienced before. Again, I wanted that to be him stonewalling me.
Yes.
That's what I wanted, right?
And you got to see.
Right. And when I started to see where I was withholding, what I really, really learned and experienced about myself was that when I don't feel safe to be seen, I said it before, I pull away. And so that's me.
Your version.
That's my version of I'm just not going to share things with you.
Yeah. Which likely on his side could be experienced as stonewalling and you pushing him away.
Right. And hurtful, in a lot of ways, like you're so different with these other people. Why are you so happy?
So open and so happy.
Right. So I know if I'm not expressing something, if I'm holding something back, there is a trigger there.
Right. There's a trigger, there's a fear, there's a not feeling safe. And then how, as a couple, do we come together to say, hey, I'm not feeling safe in this way, or I'm struggling with this, versus fuck you, or you did this, or the humility it takes to own our own issues is huge.
Oh my gosh. I am and it's a learning experience, right? And so I can say this with my 10-year-old right now. She wants to blame
everyone else. Yes.
It's so clear. Like when you see it for what it is, like I can see it, I used to do it too, but it's so obvious now where it's like, she'll come in and be like, why didn't you do this thing? I'm like, whoa, I had zero involvement in that thing that you're now blaming me for not doing.
We can watch our children's minds in those moments. And we talked about this before we started recording, right? Where they pick apart what we say and they hear the worst in it. And they make these assumptions that we meant something that, we know we didn't mean, and yet it came out, right? So parenting is another spiritual practice similar to the romantic relationship.
Oh my gosh. And once I was able to learn how to communicate fully with Adam, once that channel of communication became a safe place rather than a scary place, that's what makes
everything,
the relationships so clear, where it's like, oh, this is what it feels like to be safe in communication. And if it's my child, then it's my job, right? Or our children, it's our job to then, okay, here's how we create that safe space for them because they're learning. Or if it's a coworker or an in-law or a parent,
right.
Or
in a romantic relationship, we do it together. I mean, that's the thing my partner has said. He said, I've never experienced this kind of safety in communication before. And now I know we can get through anything because we can talk about it lovingly and with curiosity. And it changes the whole dynamic of a relationship. As people are listening, thinking, oh my gosh, I've been there or I am there. It doesn't feel safe to communicate. I don't feel seen. I don't feel understood. I try to express myself and I'm not heard. Are there any things that you're practicing that are helping you?
Yes. The first thing that comes to mind for me is human design and Gene Keys, and looking at some of those aspects. That was the thing kind of for me that I really wanted to share and talk about more, but it's because I learned so much about myself and about
that
what
kind of
I'm
self-reflection of knowing your own patterns and your triggers. And
yes, even though my husband is skeptical about it, that's fine. He can be skeptical. It's fine. And I can also see how his design is very accurate in different ways for him. And we have some very fundamental differences, especially. So I do find that especially if both partners are at least open to learning about it, there are some aspects where it's like, oh, we can see each other so much more clearly.
Whether you're more of a head or heart or gut or all those things, without then blaming that person for being wrong because they're not like you.
Exactly. That was such, and I mean, we didn't really go into that in this podcast this time, but that really was a big aspect for me of also understanding our differences to exactly what you just said. I'm not wrong and he's not wrong. This is how I operate. That's how he operates.
Yeah.
And so
And how beautiful to know. I think there's a Rumi quote. I always botch it up, but the essence of it is like, oh, beyond right and wrong, there is a field. I will meet you there. And the beauty of, can we be in relationship together without ever having to make either one of us wrong?
Yeah.
Actually curious about each other.
Exactly. And it was so powerful for me to learn about our differences and our uniqueness, and then be able to again see it for the gift that it is rather than like
problem
me.
or
Yeah.
right.
Me
And then to
feeling
qualify again, we're not talking about abusive relationships. We're talking about where there is a good degree of well-being and health and mutual respect. Yes, exactly.
Absolutely. And the second piece of that is creating that safety within yourself. Like that's what's coming up for me as well, because if you don't feel safe within your own body to even see your own truth, there's almost no chance for your partner to be able to see that if you're not even safe with it in your own heart. So that was also another thing that I practiced and I worked on, was creating my own inner safety. I hold me, I love me, I believe in me so much. Yes. So that it actually doesn't matter if you believe in me, but it feels good.
It feels good. And I want that. And it's not a fuck you if you don't, right? It's like, okay, I can be a sovereign person and it can hurt that you don't see me the way I want to be seen or you don't appreciate certain parts, and we can work on that together. But I don't have to deny myself or self-sabotage or betray myself to try to fit into your view of me or to not hurt you or offend you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. And
Changes everything.
it really, really does. And that aspect of being willing to see your partner. So if someone is unwilling to see you,
Yeah. It's
and
not gonna
never will
work.
be willing to, yeah, then that's at least, if you see you and you love you, then if that person is willing to come to the table and see you, then you can work on that. If they're not willing, then that's your answer too. And you get to choose how to love you. And yeah, I think our relationship, my relationship with my husband has been so special in that willingness to, how do I see you better? Right. That continued. And I feel like we have so much, even the toolbox just keeps getting
Growing.
more well stocked of like, how can I see you better? How
I
can I
love that.
support you more?
I love that. I also often give my clients the question of asking their partner, how can I love you better? Or what would have you feel more loved, right? What would have you feel more cared for? All of these things that nobody taught me growing up. I don't hear many people who were taught that, or had examples of that. So thank
Yeah.
you so much for your vulnerability and for the courage it takes to go through these different phases of relationship, and the moments of courage when you stood up and said, I can't do this anymore. And the moments of courage when you said, okay, I'm going to, dig in and practice and make this work and do our best. And such a beautiful example, because there are not many couples out there in the world who can say we've done this and we're growing together after a couple decades.
Yeah. Yes. And growing. And it doesn't mean, I thought it had to mean for a while, like you have to come do it my way. Right. And it's like, we're so far on different paths that, and it felt like that for a while. It felt like you're growing, but you're going way different way around the mountain. I can't see you. I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't understand where you are. And it was coming back into, we don't have to grow the exact same way, but we are both
Growing
and looking and coming and getting to listen to him now talk about the things that are interesting to him. And like, it's so beautiful and so different. It's funny because I'll be like, okay, Lock Kelly sounds a lot like Michael A. Singer. And he's like, yeah, whatever. Like we're saying the same thing here, but it's fine. That's good.
The different thing. Thank you. So how can people find you if they want either your financial support or they want help understanding their own human design or gene keys? Where do people find you?
Thank you. Thank you for that. Well, with financial planning, it's so, so important. Having someone on the financial side who really deeply care about relationships. And I really want people to be able to see each other fully. I think that is how we do the best job for you, for your life, for your longevity, for the longevity of your wealth and how you actually experience life. We all need to be able to see each other fully. And so you can find out all about how I work with clients in X squared at X, then the numeral 2 wealth.com.
The link in the show notes.
Yeah, the link will be there. Super easy. With human design, I do bring human design into the financial planning process too, if people want that. But I also do that completely separately in Expansive CEO. So you can go to expansiveceo.com. If there's anything there where it's like, no, I would love to dive into my human design, to my prosperity sequence and my gene keys, get to know how I can be even more of myself and show up more authentically in my business, in my life, in my parenting, in my relationship. There are resources there in lots of different ways. So awesome. I like to connect with people where they're at. And so that gives me options of, where's the right entry point for someone, if it is like your energy is right. And we just need to figure out the right way to connect.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here and for giving the gift of helping people see that they're not alone and that they're not the only ones that struggle and that you can make it through.
Thank you, Shana.
I'm so glad you joined us for today's episode of Practicing Love. I hope you enjoyed our conversation and gained insight into yourself and your current and past relationships and inspiration for what's possible. If you like what you heard, I'd be so grateful for you to subscribe and write a quick review to help people find us. If you'd like more support in your love life, be sure to get your free copy of my best-selling book, Honest Sex, at shanajamescoaching.com/free. That's shanajamescoaching.com/free. And we'll see you next time.